days.
Yeah.
Just, I'm afraid it'll just make me vomit.
Well, yeah, I understand that. Today
Like
work
my
was
stomach is it's just nauseous. I'm just
yeah. I think whenever
super nauseous.
I had it. I probably didn't drink for at least 2 weeks. Just didn't have
Yeah.
any desire. Like
Yep.
I could never get enough water.
That's how I felt today. But I also slept for like 20 hours, so I'm sure that's part of it.
All right. Don't stop now. Oh.
So you saw like the teams that, like, you know how they had the stats on the people
Yeah.
that entered the raid or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
How upset would you have been if you were one of the one of the 600 people out of 49,000 that cleared daughters but didn't beat Oryx?
What happened with Oryx? I
Oh.
wasn't paying attention. I just missed
Clear
this entire
daughters
conversation.
didn't. Oh, in challenge mode.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
never mind.
not
I
on
see that. Yeah, I see
normal
that
mode.
now. Yeah. Oh my.
What happened?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so I was looking to try to see like where the block was, like
Yeah.
what was the part that people, but it looks like it's definitely War Priest.
Yep.
Because
Yeah, yeah.
like 100,000 fell off
Mm-hmm.
that cleared totems that
Yep.
weren't able to clear War Priest.
Yep. Yeah, that would have been tough. Oh. But you know what? I do feel better about the game that I know I didn't sink 20 something hours in to get nothing out of it.
Had there been an emblem for normal mode, I would have been much more likely to.
They give out all these free emblems.
I know they can make one for both clears.
Oh my! It
I mean,
blows my mind.
like, look, they made that special emblem for carrying through Vault of Glass.
Yeah,
That could have easily been.
That
was
was
the
way
best
better
one too.
looking than.
It's like they
Yeah.
could have easily made that like the actual day one challenge clear, and then the day one challenge emblem could have been the normal day one clear.
Right.
Easy peasy, baby. Like no problem. Easy breezy, beautiful.
Just replace the master
Cover
mode
Cover
with
girl. Cover girl's the
just
answer to that.
replace master mode with content mode with the contest mode.
Oof.
Makes the game a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Don't have the dumb overload of champions for no reason. You can.
Yeah, because then it can just be a normal contest mode emblem in general.
Yeah.
Like not even.
The 24-hour one has a special collar or whatever, so they know, and your placement should be automatically on the emblem. You know,
Yeah.
Or what they
like you can.
what they
selectable
should do
thing.
is make it to where, like, if you do it in the first 24 hours, it puts a gold border around it, like Masterwork weapons.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that would be
Yep.
pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
See, he says yeah, sure, pretty simple.
No, it should be very simple. If you create an image to put a gold
It would just be
border
two
around
different images, is all it would be.
Yeah.
One with a border, one without.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That way you know who has the real callus
Right.
emote.
Yeah, not the one with the different colored seat or whatever.
Yeah, because we all got the real ones. We're all
Yeah, we do.
winners.
I wish they would do more cosmetics that are locked behind stuff.
Raids and dungeons.
No, like the second season of completing GMs, you should have had a special shader. Third season, you should have had a special ghost. the fourth time, it
Right.
should have been like, you know, an emblem that was, you know, stuff like that.
Yep.
Shows
Yeah,
you've
I
been
got you.
around because other games have that, like some like
And they're
skins
already
in
making
Fortnite.
the
Yeah,
they're already making the weapon shaders. Look at like the mementos. When you reach level 20, you get the shader and shit. So. All right, are we ready?
yep.
Sure. I think. Wait, I don't have a dislike in yet. And neither does
Checking for
Ryan. Does anything.
squigglies. I usually just make them up as it goes.
I'll get the feel of it.
I need to recheck our final time.
Final time?
I think it was what, like 2:31 or something.
Yeah, we was under the 3. What a bet. I'm just so glad I lost.
$2.39. Let me know when you're good, Chad.
Yeah, I guess.
Jared, you good?
Yeah.
Pushing the button. We are live for episode 76 of the Conqueror's Corner podcast. Today is Thursday, September the 1st. This is the Destiny bad boy, NotRyanFox, here with my fire team, who all of you CCBs know by now. Jared.
Hey, we got some pretty good one here. So, like, a quick little rundown PvP, what's happening this season, and a quick hot fix that finally gets some Arc stuff in the right way, and then finally King's Fall review.
And the chronicler himself, chadocero.
A little slow on the lore season, but got some fun activities. So I guess it's a give or take there. But we'll get into some stuff a little bit later.
And remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget that you can take us on the road via Spotify, iTunes, and other podcast services. Make sure you subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, click the bell, turn on notifications, yada, yada, yada. Follow us on Twitter at DestinyCCPod. Send us budgie friend requests. We have a very big episode this week. Jared kind of talked about what we're going to hit on. But most importantly, there was a new raid, and we're going to speak a lot about that new raid. And we also have a TWAB from the hippie that we're going to touch base on. But before we get on to all of that, let's listen to the intro music brought to you by everybody's favorite Link, who you can find on Twitter at LinkOfTimeG.
All right, everyone. Last week was the start of the new season, and with that came loose skill-based matchmaking and control. So whenever Bungie announced that, the PvP players that have loud voices on Twitter definitely sounded off very quickly how they did not want that in the game, but it came anyways. However, for the first few hours of the season, there was a default matchmaking going on. And what that is like it gives you like 15 seconds while you're trying to find people with a good connection to you. Then after that, they just pulls the next round of players no matter what platform they are on. So that lasted for a few hours, and then they finally got that SBMM turned back on, and they coddled to the console players, and even though like everybody's in the same skill bell, but they act like it's different, so it's console and PC is back separated again. So, but the numbers, according to Bungie, are up for this season. There's 140,000 more hours of control played in the season of the Haunted, and that's 11% increase from players playing control. And I've seen some people spouting on Twitter that this is just because there's more players playing the game now than there was to start of last season. I think last season number was 1.3 mil, and this season was 1.6. Probably with the hype of Lightfall and people seeing that showcase and stuff, probably got some people into the game to see what's up compared to last season. So matchmaking times have went up on average 5 to 10 seconds. So that's a good indication that they get the code is making you wait to find a better quality game. Now, however, for the top 0.1%, the average wait time is at least 90 seconds, and sometimes has even reached 200 seconds. So they're trying to bring that back down. They want times to be between 120 seconds and 230 seconds at the worst. Me personally, I feel like that's way too long. I think 120 seconds are too long for the wait for a PvP game. So like, I just want to hurry up and go get my 3 games done and move on. I don't know how you all feel, but waiting 2 minutes for a game seems quite long.
I'm right there with you. I agree 100% on that one. I don't want to be sitting there waiting for something unless I'm looking something else up, because then I don't care about wait times. But if I just want to get in and out of games, I just want to get in and out of games, man. I don't want to wait longer than a minute max. Otherwise, I'm just gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna go do something else. I'm gonna go do some bounties or do something where I feel like I'm actually active and doing something.
The only time I ever waited that long for games before I quit was whenever we were getting to rank 50 in Halo 3. Sometimes those like 45 to 50, like once you started getting up there, sometimes you'd have to wait a little bit for a game.
Game outcomes. Mercy games were down to 4%. Not as much as they hoped, but they hope that improves more and more, which probably aligns with this next topic, and that is quitting. The quitting percentage has gone up from 8 to 12%. And I'm sure if you follow the PvPers on Twitter, they say it's more rampant in higher level games, because I would say those players are so used to just owning lobbies that whenever that's not happening, they're like, I'm not ruining my KD, I'm backing out of this game. So that's probably what's going on here. For a lot of the pains that the top player PvPs are having is because people just don't stay in games, and their attitude that they always should be having 3 and 4.0 KD games is not the way it should play out anymore. The future plans, they know the few of the points of concern, and there's the number of poor connections during matches, and the number of players quitting early. So they are looking at a way to penalize people for quitting in a future patch for control, but that would be discussed in a future TWAB. There's also extending the time that loose as skill-based matchmaking will sit and wait for the best connection quality between group leaders, and hopefully it will increase the overall connection quality of the matches. And they got some new analytics coming online soon that should give a better picture of of connection quality between all players within matches, not just the group leaders. Um, I feel like Bungie was almost there at the start of the season, and I think it's the way to fix this is that put everybody in one pool, and you just play the players that's like around your tier. So, like if somebody is a 2.0 KD player, it don't matter if they're on console or PC. That's just how good they are. They should just play each other, and it gives you more players to pick from to increase the connections and have better lobbies. It's like I feel like that is the next step in this, right?
I think so. The only thing is, it'd be a lot easier if everybody was on PS5s and Xbox Series and that stuff, because then uh, I mean, personally, I would rather know, instead of seeing the PlayStation logo or the Epic Games or Steam or Xbox, I'd rather see a mouse and keyboard or a controller. That way, I would rather know the input people are playing than the console people are playing personally.
I think playing Gears of War, like I feel it was probably like 2 years ago now, but that game showed it in the pre-lobbies, and you got the vote
Yes,
on,
it did.
and you got the vote on the map to play too.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh, what Halo did
I
they
agree with both
introduce voting on the map?
ooh,
You couldn't Halo 3.
yeah, I remember 3.
So
I
is
think
that
you couldn't reach depending on which.
so? That was 2007, right?
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
that was a
September
while ago. Yeah.
25th.
so 15 years ago, you could vote on a map in a Bungie game, and now we can't.
In a Bungie game.
And we used to sit in the lobby and have voice chat. Like what has happened to PvP? It has gone downhill in
Uh,
I don't understand.
yeah, everybody. I don't know. It's just a different world than it was back then. It was like the Wild West.
Yeah.
Back when we were younger. When something's new, it's a little more crude. And now that it's been out, and the stuff that we used to say to each other, those people now have kids, and they don't want their kids to have to hear that. So they just turn everything off. I mean, personally, I would rather my kids, they probably hear it from me before they'd hear it from somebody on an Xbox Live party.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. It's just the way the world's moving. Everything's got to be, uh, you know, more politically correct, which isn't necessarily always a bad thing.
No, I think it's more or just less insensitive. And I mean, it is funny too because back in those days, I always turned off chat and stuff like that, or I just wouldn't have like voice on
Mhm.
because I'm like they're just horrible people. And nowadays, you're more likely to run into just normal people that are just talking about stuff
Mhm.
like sports, food, like just things that aren't calling each other names and talking about what they're going to do to each other's parents. Um, like that's much rarer than it used to be. And those people are kind of relegate themselves to specific games. I don't think that would happen a lot in Destiny. Um, because like groups that I've been in, when we run into a person or when as a group run into a person that we all find annoying, we just kind of are quiet and just don't say anything
Mhm.
versus the
Yep.
opposite of like back in the day when there was voice chat, people would just all of a sudden start piling on and yelling at that person about all of it. But
Yeah.
nowadays it's like everyone's just like, you know what, I'm just gonna be quiet and not engage and or just leave. I'm just
Well,
gonna leave this lobby and go somewhere else.
it leaves the only one other thing to do in the game, and that's teabag. So that's why there's so much teabagging
That's
going on.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Um, so PvP, yeah, lots of room for improvement, and I think we discussed this many times, but they gotta have a ranked playlist with this SPM stuff. Like, what's the point of sweating out control whenever this you get the same rewards as somebody that's a 0.5 KD player and then a 2.5 KD player? It's the same results, but one of them has to sweat. So
I don't know, man. I think the PvP community, and I'm gonna get flamed for this, but they're also kind of a bunch of babies and overreactive. You know, how
Mhm.
many how many times have you seen it? The season has been out for like 60 hours, and people are like, "Well, I think I'm gonna now have to move on to find another main game to play
Mhm.
if
Yeah.
Destiny's
Yeah.
gonna be like this."
I
And I'm
mean,
like,
as
can we at least get to the weekend, the first
yeah,
weekend before you start threaten to switch games?
Yep.
So
as a general rule for humanity, the loudest people are typically wrong. Um, they're typically just the people that just want to yell about something. So it's like
Mhm.
you don't have to listen. Just let them be loud and annoying over there and do their thing because they're gonna exist no matter what is going on all the time. That's just human nature. So
Yep.
yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully they fix it over the next couple seasons. Is this the last season for somebody to get like if you did the previous two to get unbroken?
Yeah. Yeah, this is the
So
last season.
so next season should be the rank playlist rework.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Because they
allegedly,
took it
yeah.
away. Um, the first season of this year was the one where you had to start working on it during Witch Queen,
Mm.
and now we're on the third season of this expansion. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, the rework's gonna happen next season. So I'm sure that'll be a whole conversation later on.
Yeah. Give like the Apex Predator or something for somebody that like literally grind for that. Like their ship does like a different kind of tail collar whenever you're loaded in somewhere. Like stuff like that for the PvP people to chase. Like they're gonna do it
Yeah.
just so they can have that little extra tail spin loading into somewhere. All right, next up is some King's Fall stats. So there was 458,000 players that attempted King's Fall Day 1 and 17,107 players completed Oryx on challenge mode. Fox, I think you had a stat that we went through that you cared about.
Yeah, so every raid that comes out there's kind of like one choke point to where half of the people that are attempting just they either don't have the damage or like I think like Atrax was the one and the Deepstone Crypt and that's like the main thing I think about. So I was looking at this and it said that this is all normal, not the challenge mode, just the normal mode of the raid. It started with 458,120. Um, out of those, only 158,000 cleared totems, which we I think it took us about 45 minutes. That's just like a rhythm encounter. Once you get the rhythm down, it's not too bad. But after totems is the War Priest encounter, and from there, they lost roughly 85,000. Like weren't able to clear that. So it took it to 63,000. Cleared the War Priest. Next encounter was Golgoroth. Out of that 63,000, 53 cleared. So, but here's the one that was the craziest part. So the last two encounters, the first of those being daughters, 49,873 were able to clear the daughters encounter, and then the players that cleared Oryx was 49,245. So I was talking to Jared. I was like, how bad would it suck to be one of those 600 people out of roughly 50,000 that were able to clear daughters but couldn't clear the final boss? Like that would be pretty painful. Uh, but clearly, War Priest and Golgoroth were the checks, and once you got through that, it seemed to be pretty smooth sailing. From what I was reading online, the as far as challenge mode goes, that the War Priest challenge was the most difficult, and once you got through that, most teams finished the challenge mode in about 4 hours after beating the War Priest challenge mode.
All right, this is the three-peat happened. Fox called it. It happened. Salted Greppo's team. So that's including Cruz, Kairos, Vile Fate, and Quaz completed, and they got the third ring, the third belt. And just like all the great ones, after the three-peat, you kind of take a break. However, it ain't gonna happen with them. There is no plans for them quitting day one race. They gave a little Q&A in the TWAB. If you want to read through every detail, I'll just give you some clip notes here. They believe that the hardest parts were Gogroth and the War Priest for day one, which is kind of represented by the numbers. Kairos had to restart the computer during the first clear and set them back about 15 minutes, what made them super nervous about falling too far behind. So it was pretty crazy. They had like a 15-20 minute window. If they just set idle while his frames dropped to 10 per second, and he just couldn't do anything with his computer. So they still end up winning after getting that 15-minute delay.
They don't have backup computers.
Maybe after this, the three piece, they might have backup ones now.
Just a couple sets of backup RAM, backup drives, just to pop things in and out and just make it work.
Yeah, after the reset, his computer was fine. So
yeah,
maybe just Windows did some kind of small update that it didn't like. So we all have had those troubles before.
Oh yeah, I had it this past week.
So with that brings the TWAB to a close. A little bit in there about Ido and how much everybody's caring about Ido, and we're going to hear more about her throughout the season through Chad and lore and story content at some point after we get done talking about the newest things that come to the game. And speaking of newest things,
eulogy.
Let's hope not. All right. Kingsfall review. So we're going to be reviewing the weapons, but before we review the weapons, we're going to talk about the raid itself. So first up is opening counter, and for the most part, nothing really changed here from Destiny 1. Go grab orbs, come back and dunk it. Two people got to dunk at the same time, and you got to do it 6 times. So just like most opening counters to raids, they can be very annoying for no reason at all. You just think back, like the opening to Deep Sun Crypt, and that going out in the frost and going from place to place on Sparrows, annoying. The opening to Crown of Sorrow. It just seems like these opening counters can take so long for no reason, but same thing there, but just communication and shooting down walls. You get through that quite easily, and you end up getting a chest out of it too. So that's nice. But I feel like it's an 80% drop rate of getting a class item out of that first chest. Next encounter is totems, and Fox has talked about this is kind of more of a rhythms, right?
Yeah, so the this encounter in Destiny 1, but do we want to talk about like the encounter, like how it differs from Destiny 1, both, or how we want to do this going forward?
Yeah, just put the main point of what people that
Okay, so basically you what you're trying to do is you're trying to decrypt a hive rune, and decrypting the hive rune opens up a door. And so you kind of have 3 areas. You have the middle area that you walk into, and then you have like an alcove to the left and an alcove to the right. And in that middle area that you walk into, at the far side of the room, this farthest away from where you enter the room, there are 2 like ledges up that are up high, and on those ledges, there will be a wizard that spawns. After you kill the wizard, a hive knight spawns. The alcoves to the left and to the right have like essentially like a poisonous gas that are in there, that are in those. However, once the encounter starts, excuse me, there is a death totem in each of those alcoves that somebody has to be standing on a plate. If there's not somebody standing on that plate after like 5 or 8 seconds or so, it wipes the entire team. So basically what you do, that person has a buff that they grab on the way down. So you designate one person to alcove right, alcove left. They grab the buff, run down. It's like a 30-second protection, divine protection or something it's called. And what happens, another person on the team jumps up to the ledge in the center room, kills the wizard, then kills the hive knight. Which gives them a buff to be able to take the protection buff from the person that is in the in the alcove rooms. So they'll grab that buff, run down, pass it out. At that point, the next person is up, killing the wizard in the night. The person that was standing on the death totems, they for every enemy they kill, they get a stack. They get a stack of Chad. Do you remember what it's called?
I think it was Death Singer's power.
Yes, I believe you're right. Death Stinger's power. Uh, and that person then runs to the middle room where you enter, and there's a big plate. You stand on there. You have to deposit your Death Stinger's power. And doing that hastens. You have to deposit the power in order to open the door. So you're kind of running a circle rotation. You kind of have a team of 3 on the right, a team of 3 on the left, and you're going from depositing your knowledge, getting the buff in order to take the protection, and then the person from the protection comes and deposits. There are a lot of ads. You can get overwhelmed. So I thought tether worked pretty good in that room. Whenever I was in the room holding down the death totem, I also liked with Warlock the stasis turret was pretty good at kind of freezing everything and giving you a little bit of room to breathe.
Yeah, for that I use a lot of the chain reaction forbearance. I use that a lot in this raid, to be honest, because most of the time as we go through this, you do damage with a heavy linear fusion, and that really opens you up for a kinetic exotic and then forbearance in your energy slot. And really here, you do want some healing. Any way you can get that going. With stasis, you can just freeze the room, as Fox said. So I think the other alternative is with solar or void with devour, just to keep your health up and killing ads.
Yeah, I was more running a Thunderlord for ad clearing because it's really good. It's hitting really hard. It feels really nice right now. And a Cartesian because there's that solar witch and it one shots it immediately. Just jump on the ledge, bang, and then turn around and that knight's already spawning in. So I'm usually off that ledge before the guy who's coming back from the alcove is there. So I'm usually already down before he's running back up. So that gives me plenty of time to run in, cover the guy, give him some heals or some cover if he needs to, just in case, so he doesn't die, because that throws off the rotation really badly too. But it's definitely a very much a find the rhythm, stay alive, whether that's freezing people or just being a tanky titan or bubbling or invisible, devour, whatever you need to do. Because as soon as one gear gets thrown off one side of that room, it hurts the encounter by about a minute or two, if you can recover. Because you have to run out, grab the aura, and run all the way back before that totem goes off. So it can be tough, but if you got the teamwork, it's not bad to juggle. It's just kind of annoying. But yeah, I mean overall, we were we talking about it. Are we going through this from the mindset of these people only know Destiny 2, or are we going through and being like, I like the change over D1 to D2 to D1,
Yeah,
or not?
you can give that opinion.
Okay,
If you were well versed in it, because I wasn't well versed in King's Fall
Gotcha.
D1. I think I had 4 clears.
Yeah, I think this requires more people to be active, and that's always, in my opinion, that's a positive for a raid. I like raids where you can carry half the team and they don't need to know anything, but I also like making people be an active role in the raid because that makes them feel like they did more than just you just shove them in a backpack and carry them to the end. They feel more accomplished that way, and they want to jump into more stuff. So I do like this change, especially for this totem encounter, because in D1 it was a joke of an encounter. It was just kind of you hanging out and just chatting with the dudes while you're waiting to get to War Priest. But yeah, the changes they made here, where everybody has to be actively moving and doing their own thing, is nice. I enjoyed it very much.
So the one major thing that I liked more with this is that it just felt faster, and I always thought that remember whenever how you used to pass the buff in Destiny 1, you both the guy coming in had to be inside of the aura, and then once his timer ran out, it passed to whoever was in there with him. That got a little like somebody taking off too soon to run middle. You know, it would get a little wonky sometimes. I much prefer it this way, to where you have like something in your hand that you use
An
to take it.
active taker. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so one other thing I'd like to do, I think we should rate all the encounters on like a 1 to 10.
Okay.
Uh, I would say this would be uh probably a 6.5 for me.
That's good. I'm gonna say it's 7.1. It's a decent encounter. That's the only encounter with the champion. Thanks Smash is an unstoppable ogre that spawns up in the middle. And when the first time we went through, we had some like errors out with that. Like one time the ogre dropped out of the ceiling instead of came up out of the ground for me. So we have to watch that sometimes. You don't try to stun it too quick as it's coming out of the ground. So it's a 7.1.
Yeah, I was gonna give it a pretty solid C at a 7.4. Not like just on the low end of a regular C. Because like Ryan said, the changes made it faster. So if you can get enough stacks of kills, you can go through it pretty quick. It's not based off of like how many times you can pass the buff and somebody moves to the middle and then they move back and forth and back and forth. It on a timer, it's about kills with a timer, but more about getting as many kills as you can. So it was nice that they sped it up. They found a mechanic to make it speed up. So yeah, a 7.4 is fine. Not an amazing encounter, super crazy, but it's still fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I
just to back it up, opening counter I give a 0.1 out of 10.
yeah, that's like a 5.3 for me. It's I just don't like opening counters, so like it's hard for me to ever find an opening counter I really enjoy.
It's definitely a negative 0.1. It could have been removed. Could have been a single dunk. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
We can't even use that opening space. There's no reason for it to be there. That and then the jump puzzle. Ooh, like it was
Yeah.
cool to do it one time just because it's like, oh, we're getting back in the raid again, but it's like I want to skip it every time now.
Yeah.
Somebody find a totems checkpoint, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that secret chest wasn't still in that jumping puzzle. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Next up is War Priest. So as soon as we open that door from totems, that's where War Priest is, and this is where you get to a little more like call out mechanics for the first time in the raid. So Chad is usually our guy, the center, that's calling us out. He's our quarterback. He's our control station for this, and usually I try to keep him screwing up and getting on the plate at the wrong time, but Chad knows what's going on when it comes to plate. Basically, he clear out a few waves VADs, like a couple like yellow bars, and then all of a sudden Chad takes over.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing calls. I was doing the guy down in middle doing calls in D1, so I was very much used to it already. So it wasn't much of a change. Plus down in middle is really easy. So I'm happy about that. The sides are definitely much harder. So you start the encounter, step on all the plates, and then waves of ads come in through doors in the back, and then sometimes on the sides, right next to the ledges on right and left. And you're killing stuff. Middle, don't really worry about it. It's just a couple knights here and there. But once left and right each gets a yellow bar witch, that's when you know you're gonna start. Yeah, each, right? It's two. Is it two? Because I thought
Two
there
per
was one
side.
orange and then a yellow bar, so it's two per side.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been up there, so I haven't seen it. But
Mm-hmm.
once they kill this, I guess the second yellow bar, that's when they know to run back to the plates area because that's when it's gonna start up. One middle steps on plate, calls out left, right, mid based off of whatever's glowing in front of them. Because there's basically a stone on each side, and the front portion of it is gonna glow like a whitish blue color. They call where to go, and then from there, each guy steps in their plate, calls where to go next, and then the third person to stand on a plate is the guy who holds aura. Now each team kind of does whatever rotation they want. Either they will go to that plate that has the aura so that they can be damaging the whole time, or they start middle to right to left. However you want to end up doing it is up to your team's comfort on that one. But basically, once you hit damage, you have the aura just like in totems. The guy has that red aura, and it's not a safe zone, but it's the only place that you can be to damage the boss. While that's happening, so say I got aura on mid. I'm now the guy who has the aura, so people jump to me to damage the boss in that zone. On the right or left, the plates that didn't get the aura, there's going to be a taken knight that spawns in one at a time on either side. So one guy on each side looks for the knight. Whoever gets it stays there and kills it, and the other guy can run away to do a little bit of damage and then run away. Because what ends up happening is you have a 15-second timer, just like in totems, same mechanic, where guy kills the taken knight, and he gets the ability to take the aura away. He runs in, and once you get down to like 5 seconds, you count it down. He takes the aura, and that restarts the timer. The longer you have that aura, the longer your damage phase is. So the more successful you are doing this kind of rotation, the more damage you can end up pumping out onto the boss. And then obviously the other guy goes to his plate to the left side, kills his knight, comes back, and then takes the aura again. So you get a solid like 3 different phases of sections of damage. You get 2 extensions per damage phase. And once that extension's done, everybody has to hide behind the stone that was there. He does a white mechanic where the light kills everybody, and then you go away, start over. But depending on which stone he takes, he gains an ability. He'll either gain this is from what I can see, he gains like the throwing the orbs, like the darkness orbs, right? Like that makes you blinded. Or he gains because at first he just starts with a boomer, right? A boomer and then the seeking bolts. And
Yep.
then
And then he gets fire from one of the
yeah,
plates
from the
also.
third one, he gains the left side. I think he gets fire, which is why we usually
Yep.
leave it for last because that's the worst.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically
And they
you
get
have 4 chances to do that. If you can't do it in 4 tries, he wipes the whole team because there's no more rocks to hide behind, and then you start over. But again, the timing is so tight. It's the totem mechanics on a boss fight. But since the timing is so crucial together, and that left side's really annoying if you jump down to go back up and then back down to the aura guy to get it, it's really tight timing. And with the damage gates as they were, since you only have 4 tries, seeing it like in action, doing it regular, I'm like, yeah, doing this encounter once or twice is like, yeah, this is the hard damage gate for the team. 100%, 110%. This is the spot where everybody's gonna get dropped. And seeing the numbers, yep, I believe it. I mean, totems is just if a team doesn't have cohesion, they're not gonna be able to pull it off. But once that team that passes that's like, obviously they're a good team, but then the war priest is like, if you don't have the damage, you're not gonna make it.
Yeah. I mean, I think War Priest is actually the hardest encounter in the whole raid.
Yeah, by far.
Which, I mean, Orcs isn't easy. It's just War Priest is that much harder. And as it develops, the meta's going to form out a little bit better with the DPS places to stand, and to make those things a little bit easier. It's gonna change a bit. I do see some LFG issues in the future in this encounter of communicating when to go get a buff, what the countdown is. We had issues where there was too many buffs on the screen, and you got too many numbers counting down on the left side, and you don't know which you're trying to do DPS and keep track of your numbers at the same time, and you can easily lose track. And sometimes it's just better off if you go grab that taken night buff, and you're calling out what time it is, what time's left. You might just be better off go ahead and grab the buff and keep the encounter moving instead of causing the damage phase at the end and have to use it a token to res someone.
Yeah, sometimes great is the enemy of good. So you'd rather maybe you lose 4 seconds because you're not exactly optimal, but you're going to gain overall 11 seconds because you refresh that buff. So I agree there. So the main difference with this encounter is before you were able to keep like one person to look, because now you have to be on the plates in order to see which rock glows, whereas before you could just have somebody standing back there, right, Chad, in Destiny 1?
Yeah,
so
that's the major change, or no,
Yeah.
actually that's minor change, I think, compared to the next one.
And
which is
what's the other one?
what's the other one? So in D1, when you were the aura holder, acolytes spawn in, and to extend the DPS, you kill an acolyte.
You shot him. Yeah.
But now someone else has to run away to kill a knight to run back and then take the aura from you. So
Yep.
I think that mechanic is much more interesting for sure. But the Acolyte one was so easy because you're just standing there. And even in D2, it would have been too easy because you're in a well. So you're like, I can't die. I can literally just stare this guy down until I get to 1 second, then bang, he's dead.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Exactly right. So I think overall, I kind of like this encounter. We did kind of flub it up one of our runs. We were, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was tired or what it was, but I say, so I like this encounter much more than the totems encounter. So I would say we're looking at probably like 8.1.
Good score. Good score. I would say 8.4 because of how much damage you can actually put out. That this really just calls for a lot of different weapons you can use. Like, if you're really good at your crits and you're not somebody that's responsible for going and taking out knights, you could use Whisper. You could use these heavy linear fusions with the 4 times the charm, triple tap, and Vice Stinger going. Those are great. You can do Izzy hot swap, and then a Divinity guy is also really good here. And I did it on one of the clears and enjoyed it, moving from spot to spot, shooting a lasting impression rocket before I put Div on and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's nice again to have a more sniper oriented raid. Being able to use snipers, rockets, linears, is good. I like it a lot. The changes that they made going into D2 from D1 again are all positive for this one. I enjoyed War Priest a lot in D1. I enjoyed a lot here. Gonna give it a straight up 8.5, giving it that solid B. I don't know what I would do to make it amazing, but for the most part, everybody's engaged. There's only really 2 people that can be full ad clear and not really worry about anything. Otherwise, everybody's pretty much active and doing a role. And again, like I said before, I like that a lot.
Yeah, and everybody has to put out decent damage.
Yep.
Because if you can go through all 4 damage phases with all the extenders, and if you're not putting out good damage, you might struggle to clear this encounter. So after this encounter, you go into a little teleporter up where the boss died, and you have the maze to go through that has a secret chest in it. It's not that hard. Once you see the map and look at it, it's not that hard to get. It's basically 5 people go to stand on a pressure plate. If you stand on it and it isn't green, you get off, and then somebody else tries until all of your plates are green. Opens up a door in the middle, and then from there you get your secret chest. Do a 180, go to the exit of the maze, and you are in Golgoroth. So one of you can talk about Golgoroth.
All right, so Golgoroth, I was mainly on DPS crew here, but I knew what was going on with the gaze. But before you get to the mechanics, you kind of got to do some ad clear. Astra, great. Witherhoard, great. A lot of that stuff is just like take out ads and try to make yourself for ammo, make a bunch of ammo for your next 2 rounds to go through. So that exotic primary weapon was going to give you a lot of finder bricks for your heavy or special, whatever you have going on there. And then finally a yellow bar wizard spawns in the back, and you kill it. And then it starts, somebody's going to have to grab Gothorok's gaze. So you normally have to run up on one of the sides, shoot him in the glowy back, and then you also want to run, after you get the gaze, run back to where you enter the room, because that's where the direction everybody's DPS is going on. The reason is that as he's looking at you, he's turning his chest, look at you, opening it up, so everybody else can hit their crits and do some DPS while they're in the pools. Now, to get the pools going, you gotta shoot the wells that's up in the ceiling, or the lights, and they take quite a bit to burst and come down. Some special weapons, everybody shooting it at once, and you have to use a heavy shot or 2 to get it going. There's 6 in total. The lights so you can shoot up in the ceiling to go down to do DPS in. As you're doing DPS on the floor, there's ads running up at you. So depending on what people are running, that is doing the gaze swapping. I think when someone grabs the gaze, you only get 10 seconds. So as you're running to the other side of the room, you're standing there, and the other person that needs the gaze is running up the other side of the ring, waiting to count down for the first person that took the gaze, and they're hot swapping it in and out as the other 4 people are doing as much damage and trying to stay alive down in the pit.
Yeah, I think you hold gaze for maybe 15 seconds or so.
I think it's 15.
Because
Okay.
15 seems to be the mode for this raid for this one.
Yeah, and one of your fusion rifle, like an arbalist or any sort of heavy, just one bangs his back if you're a gaze man, like I was.
Yeah.
And I preferred to use my heavy for it, and then I had a wither horde, so I could help take care of the ads while you guys were doing DPS, because they spawn in only in like 2 different areas. So whenever I was waiting for the other gaze guy to call down for me to take gaze, I'd pop a couple wither horde shots down, and tried to make sure that you guys were a little bit covered and not lose damage time. The other thing, the hardest part about gaze is he has like what are they? The Axion darts, the ones that seek you, the seeker bolts. He fires like 4 of those out every 3 seconds at you, so you got to have something that you can kill those with. SMG is all right, but you better hit every single bullet or you're going to be in a reload, because those things, you're kind of up on a platform and there's boxes, so they're coming over boxes, around boxes, and you don't want to get caught in a reload while 2 of those are just come out of nowhere at you. So I liked actually an auto rifle there just because the magazine is so big. So I was running like Wither Horde, Gnawing Hunger, and Read Regret or something like that. So just it's not a hard fight. The only other thing is there is a wipe mechanic to where if you leave 6 or more bubbles throughout the course of the fight unpopped, then it will wipe you. There's a like a tablet thing in the back, and it lights up how many bubbles you've failed to pop. So before in Golgoroth, people did like one well or like one bubble or whatever, but now you actually have to do the mechanics. So that was kind of the main difference between the D1 and the D2 version.
Yeah. I think that's the only change for Golgoroth for this for D1 D2 is that Tablet of Ruin mechanic. It isn't based off of deaths anymore. It's based off of the bubbles. I was a part of the Deeps team, and I was running RBs with a Mida and or a Callus mini tool, and a DPS linear, just kind of flip flopping around just to feel them out. You get pretty close on it, so Storm Chaser is a very good call for this one because the last 4 bubbles you're basically on his feet, and it's really easy to hit all your shots as a crit. Now one of the things that I thought was funny is that Golgoroth can't see you if you're invisible. So if you're a hunter and you're trying to dodge a bolt and you have to reload your SMG and you dodge and you go invis, it automatically ends the gaze. So I mean, neat, makes sense as far as encounters and mechanics go, but annoying a little bit if you're an invis hunter.
I think that's the only boss that doesn't keep looking at you whenever you go invis.
Yeah, I think they added it to this one, and it makes sense, right? You're invisible, he can't see you, but it's one of those things. But also the only other mechanic which I think Ryan forgot because he wasn't in the bubbles at all this time, except for once when I told him I ran out of ammo, is if you touch the pools, there's a chance that one of you during each bubble is gonna get basically you're gonna absorb too much light and you're gonna become explosive, and it shows you as a timer. It's very similar to the detain mechanic in Vault of Glass, which was adopted for this Vault of Glass, but you basically become not charged with light, but overloaded. It says something with light, and your screen your character glows. So like if you're looking at your gun and your hands, you're glowing and you have like a radiance going around the screen. So you have to run away from your team before that timer hits 0, or you just detonate and kill everybody. And the problem is if you do that, you're left alive, so we know who did it. Um,
Yeah.
Corrupted Light. Thank you, Smash. Um, the thing is though, Golgroth doesn't have a stomp mechanic. So you can actually run up to him with the Corrupted Light and detonate and do damage to him and then run back to the next pool. Um, so, I mean, you're safe there. It also can kill some of the ads that are running at you if Ryan doesn't get them all. But yeah, I mean, overall, this is probably the least changed encounter of the whole raid besides totems, which I don't count because I don't think it should be encounter anyway. But the changes, again, it's just a positive one. It's not based off of death anymore because we already have a token thing. If 6 people die, you lose. So they had to make it something else. So the bubbles make sense. It forces people to do mechanics that they couldn't force people to do in D1, and I think that's just a good change.
Yeah, I as far as this is my favorite encounter, is my favorite encounter in D1. It's my favorite in any raid in D2. So, but it's really, even though it's really really close to one of the Last Wish encounters, which most people think I'm crazy for. But I would rate this one I want to say like a 9.3, 9.4. I think it's really close to really really close to a perfect encounter.
Huh? So it's a good
Um,
score. It's a good score.
Nice.
I'm gonna go 8.9, 8.9 because to me it can take a little while. You can't one phase it and stuff like that. So that's why it's at 8.9 for me.
I definitely don't want to match Jared again, just out of sheer principle nowadays. So I'm gonna say an 8.89 for all the same reasons,
Yeah.
and because again, it forces people to do mechanics in a way that isn't obnoxious. So I'm all aboard for that.
Yep. Shirochi, that's the other one that I feel is the closest. I love that encounter. All right, so after that, we have
Another jumping puzzle.
the piston wall encounter,
Yeah.
and make it through the piston wall, and you get to the end. You got to climb up a rock, and that takes us to the next to last encounter. However, it does put us in the arena where the boss is, and this is the daughter's encounter. So this encounter currently is kind of a joke, in my opinion. It's just
Don't tell
so
anyone.
so easy. Uh, but this is where you're first introduced to being torn in between dimensions, and you're kind of building platforms in order to get pieces of the shield in order to break the shield around the 2 daughters that are up on platforms. And so, long story short, there's the room is like a rectangular. It's probably actually more of a square, and there in the all 4 quadrants of the square there is like a mini platform that you jump up on multiple times during the encounter, and then in the middle left and middle right you have 2 very tall uh, platforms, and on those platforms, each one is a daughter. That's one of Oryx's daughters that's there. And so on this one, a knight will spawn on one of the 4 smaller platforms around the arena. Once you kill that knight, that it'll start to go green on that platform. Jump onto the platform, and then at that point, it will make somebody. It'll throw them into third person mode, and they are like torn in between dimensions. So that is chosen at random, and that person as well is able to see where the first part of the brand that they need is. So we used L1, L2, R1, R2 as the call outs. So they call out where they go. The person that's responsible for that platform, jumps up on it, and it's gonna put 4 um, places. What about 4 invisible platforms that the person that's torn in between dimensions can see that none of the rest of us can see, and they jump across those, get it. You do that 3 times. At that time, on the 3rd time, the person will fully have completed the brand. They jump up to the daughter on the main platform that is shooting at them, and they hit them with the shield, which breaks their shield. Everybody else lines up really close, and we just fire rockets into it. And for whatever reason, rockets are just absolutely busted on this encounter at the moment. So it is you kill her with let's see, 3 with what, 18 rockets probably total coming from your
Mm.
fire team.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah.
Maybe 24.
Yeah.
Yeah, 18 to
Each
24 rockets.
each wolf pack is boosted by 399% damage currently
Yeah,
on this boss.
yeah. So it's pretty dumb. After you kill one, you do the same thing 3 times, which break the shield on the other, kill that one. It's this encounter was pretty easy in Destiny 1. It's exceptionally easy right now just because of like the bug that's going on, but it'll continue to be easy. I don't feel like there's enemy density in this raid like there was in like when they brought back Volt and like some of the other raids. I feel like there's just not a lot of enemies to kill. So
You,
I wasn't crazy about this encounter. I'll let you guys see if I missed anything.
just to tag along on the last thing you said, we did have duality last season, so
Oh, it
we've
had plenty of enemy density for sure.
yeah. So we've kind of become accustomed to doing duality runs, and that boss room is literally just ads everywhere. You get a break enough to grab some ammo, run away, hit a bell, and start up. Um, so I mean, we've become very used to that. So going into this one, it's nice because like you'll kill ads, and then you'll just sit there and look around, and then like I'll be looking around at my stuff, and all of a sudden I'll hear from Ryan some call. He'd be like, "Hey, I killed your stuff," and I'm like, "Hey, thanks, buddy." Um, but this encounter is essentially right now. Normally it's going to be a 4 phase, 2 like 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 per daughter. Um, but right now it's just to teach the mechanics for Oryx. The mechanics are exactly the same in Oryx. The only thing they add is a DPS phase on him is a little different than her. They teach you how to get the brand. They teach you how to jump over on the platforms, and then to take the brand from the daughter, which is directly used in the Oryx fight. So it's all just teaching you the fight that's coming up next, which I like a lot. The only thing they did change from D1 that Smash is pointing out is in D1 you had a platform that you started at, and then from that platform it went, I believe, clockwise.
I thought it was
I kind of
counterclockwise.
think counterclockwise. So if I
Yeah.
start on R2, it's going to go to L2 and then L1 every time. So once that person hops on, then the next person, the next person. But on this one, you hop on and then you have to look around and see where the Toland little guy is above, and then you call that out, they move over. But yeah, right now it's the DPS is a joke completely, and it's kind of hilarious to watch. But it's really just to teach the Oryx fight, which I kind of like as far as a Sherpa standpoint. It's basically if you can teach this fight, you only have to teach 1 extra thing or 2 extra things for the Oryx fights, which is really nice. Unlike Last Wish, where every encounter is completely different, but great, but different. This one's very linear. It's like Totems teaches you how to do War Priest. Golgoroth is just Golgoroth, and then Daughters teaches you how to do Oryx. But I mean, it's great. It's a teaching thing, and you get some loot. So
Yeah, I really enjoy this encounter because you can just bake the bosses whenever you just do the mechanics right, and just do the mechanics and give yourself plenty of time to sit up there on the halfway up the platform and melt a boss. That's what I like in raiding. I like if you execute the mechanics perfectly, you should be able to go melt a boss. So I think that's why I really enjoy this. And as Like right now, because you can just build the bosses, and my enjoyment of encounters, this is a 9.1 because
Oh Jesus!
I enjoy just getting through it. I love Templar because you can just do the encounter, bust out the DPS, and move on. That's what, because after to this point, you've never had to put out that much DPS in any encounters leading up before a boss fight with those two bosses, and Golgoroth and War Priest. You do need this breather. This is like, hey, this is going to be an easy encounter here. So, yep.
Or you want me to go next, Ryan, on my vote?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Like I said, this is from a Sherpa standpoint. I like this encounter because it teaches you how to do the next fight. The mechanics are definitely interesting and engaging enough where it makes people, it literally forces people to do it randomly. Like every single person, unless I guess they're lucky or unlucky, depending on how you see it, is gonna have to be torn. It's just gonna happen like throughout the rest of the raid. I like when people are forced to do something. So I'm gonna give this one, even though it's still a very fast encounter right now, and it's a joke of damage. I'm gonna give it another C, a 7.3. C minus is 7.3 ish.
That's actually what I had in my head too. So I'll also say a 7.3.
All right, that brings us to Big Daddy Oryx. As we mentioned, the mechanic, it's basically the same way. However, Knight spawn. He comes around after he spawns. He picks a platform and slams his fist, and that one starts glowing green. So that's one to start on. But after that one, a random one will spawn. Knights, you kill the knight, and then one of them starts growing green again, and that's the first platform we go get on, run around, and grab a buff. This time when you grab the third, instead of two sisters to go slam on, there is a knight running usually around the middle of the map. You go and take that shield and bust him down. While you're growing up and grabbing the busts and being torn, these ogres will come up out of the ground that you need to kill that drop these blights, these bomb blights. And you have to get 4 of them, and they're at each of the pillar basically gets an ogre. Whenever you kill that and you get that blight bomb, these special knights spawn in the back of the room. Are they called blight stealers?
Light eater.
Blight eaters.
Light eaters, yeah.
Yeah. So they'll come in they go straight for that bomb. They kind of don't stop. They don't care for the most part of anything else that's going on. So you got to take those out before they get there. And then right before it's time to do TPS, you took the what's the buff called?
The invincibility.
Not
buff
torn,
thing.
but yeah, it's the
That aura
brand
thing?
You take the brand away.
Oh,
Take
yeah.
the brand away from the knight. And so the two people kind of around center at that time, they're going to be floaters. That's what we call. The other 4 people that are kind of responsible for the pillars are standing next to the blights. And that time they are, after Oryx slams his fist again, he calls upon the darkness, and 4 people go into those blights at the same time. And after you see your name pop up in the bottom left of your screen, exit the blight, go to the brand, stand in the brand. Oryx does his darkness attack. You live because you're in the brand, and then you can start your DPS. After DPS happens, you'll get one of 2 things that will happen. One of them's called bombs. The other one's called Thunderdome. And if anybody else tells you it's called something else, they're wrong. Okay? So Thunderdome, closest to where Oryx is, into the back of the room where he spawns at. He'll create this half orb into the ground, and he'll just start bringing people in at random. And the ads are spawning outside, so you try to kill the ads before they make it to the Thunderdome. Inside the Thunderdome, there's the shade of Oryx that comes around. He got this DPS enough to get out of the Thunderdome. Usually around a 4th person that gets teleported in, enough DPS is done, and you break and you start doing the encounter over again. The other option is bombs. So what bombs happens, Oryx goes back to start just placing a bomb on your head wherever you're at on the map, and you got to move around fast. So you have 2 options at that point: to keep moving around, don't cross paths to screw up your teammates, and that way you continue to live. Or the knights that spawn on top of each 4 pillars, you can take them out, take all 4 of them out, the bombs stop, and you go back again to doing Torn for War 3 times, getting the brand, and doing DPS again. Eventually, Final Stand is going to happen. When Final Stand happens, there's only 2 ogres that are going to spawn. We call them L2 and R2. Usually it's Chad and Fox's responsibility. Take both of them out. They communicate with each other right before they go into the Blight. They go into, at the same time, detonate both bombs. As they were about to detonate both bombs, the other 4 people need to be shooting damage into Oryx's chest as much as possible. At this point, it kind of keeps the mechanic going. And they detonate the bombs. You're putting in DPS. He does a stagger. And then you're up against the clock. You have so many seconds to finish his health bar out. And if you don't get that, you get the white screen, and you'll know more. You don't get the encounter. Now, I've seen some low man challenges where people stagger that last stand blights detonating. If you're doing low man challenges, I'm sure you already know what's going on, understand the mechanic more in a different way. But you can stagger those 2 for an extended final stand phase. So
so this encounter, I really didn't like the changes to this encounter. Previously, you had to basically, the only way you could damage Oryx was by blowing up those blights, and it took 16 to kill him. So there were kind of 2 ways you could do, like 4, 4, 4, 4. Some groups I ran with like to do 8 and 8. The challenge mode in Destiny 1, you had to do all 16 at once. So basically, you would kill the ogre every time where it drops. So all the bombs would be stacked on top of each other. And the only bad part about it was it took so long. The fight was just incredibly long. And, if you messed up so far into it, then it was a little disheartening. I spent many hours inside of that arena. Many hours. This allows you to, if you're able to coordinate and get good damage, you only have to do it 2, probably 3 times damage phases before it's over. But just so you guys know, this dude has a load of HP. I'm talking, especially in that final stand. So make sure you have heavy going into the final stand. A lot of times we would cut our second damage phase short to not go into final stand because we just didn't have the ammo to be able to kill him out of it.
Yeah, definitely. We would go in, and then we would leave just a sliver so that we could use specials to get him into final stand, and have just heavy for the ending. Let's see, the changes that they made is basically you have to do just like daughters, you have to do 3 things before you can steal the brand. In D1 it was just 1 phase, I think, and then you grabbed it and then you dunked on the dude and then you started going. So after you kill your ogres on your plates, you're basically just standing there killing ads. So it makes the encounter seem very empty. Because unless you're torn, you're not getting targeted by Oryx, so you can literally stand there right in front of his face and he won't do anything. So while the changes are good, that it forces people to do the encounter, the extension of the encounter by making it you have to do the plates 3 times, but they didn't add any ads or anything like that, makes it feel longer than it needs to be for that phase. Because you kill your ogres and you're just standing there. You're like, do I need to be on my plate? No, I guess I'll just be down here and killing some centurions and stuff and call it a day, I guess. Thunderdome's still fun. Bombs encounter can be cut short by killing all the knights on the plates. So if you know bombs is coming and you stare at your plate with a linear or a sniper, you can destroy it and end that phase, which is nice. I do like that. But I mean, overall, this one is definitely it's I feel like it's more in line or just a little bit worse than D1 Oryx. The only thing that I like more is that you're actually doing weapons to damage, not bombs. So it's like you actually do have to do damage, not just sit there and shoot him in the chest with primaries so that he stays open so that the bombs can go off. But I mean, I'll give my score first since I'm talking. Overall, I think I'm gonna give this one a 7.7 because it's a little bit above average, but it's a little bit worse than it was in D1. But it's
See,
still not
so
bad. It's still a good encounter.
yeah. So my thing is, seeing as how it had to be mostly similar to D1, I thought that every change they made was a great change because it made it to where if you did what you were supposed to do, you could get through it faster. Because you didn't have to wait for 16 bombs. Now you can do it in 12. If you get the only thing I wish they wouldn't have done is made that the last stand. I don't think it should take it. He should have like a debuff to where he takes more damage or something. But I think it's pretty. My biggest complaint is, in order to do last stand, you shouldn't have to cut a round short because nobody has heavy. Like specials should be able to take out a last stand, in my opinion. So I would give it a 8.3.
Yeah, I'm pretty close with Fox here. I'd say it's at 8.5, and for the reason that it's like what Chad was talking about, how you kind of got downtime whenever you're on totems. So maybe you should have been shooting something else. It's like something else like small going on. Maybe just an ad or two somewhere that you need to go kill in a certain amount of time. Maybe just like one for L1 and R1 and another one for R2. Just something to go seek out, and like maybe you gotta like grab a buff to make the ball appear on the last platform as you're going up. So 8.5 for me.
All right. So overall, does this raid make your guys' top 3 in Destiny 2? Well, let's count sunset raids as well.
Oh man. So when you say that, as in like, all right, we're gonna run this raid tonight, how happy or excited am I to go run it?
Let's say like all 3 raids
Yeah.
were out.
Mm-hmm.
Which one would you be like the most excited to show somebody, I guess?
Oh, number one for me is Scourge of the Past. To how quick it is, the simple mechanic,
Yeah.
and traversing through the city. That's why Scourge of the Past is number one for me. And then, then, man, that dang opening counter for Deepstone Crypt. That's the only thing that's holding it back from like being undisputed number 2.
Encounter.
Yep.
Yeah.
You just wait for Chad to clear it, and then you load in on him.
Remember, it doesn't work. You have to get somebody else to load
Yeah. Didn't work last time we tried it.
in. Yeah.
The door wouldn't open.
So that's what keeps it from being number 2. So that makes Last Wish number 2 for me, and then Deepstone Crypt's number 3. So this King's Fall falls at number 4.
I think King's Fall is a 4 for me too, because it's the same. It's the same as what you said, just a different order.
King's Fall takes so long.
It takes too long. I think without the first area, I think we'd be fine. Like if it started at totems and then moved on, I'd be okay with it. Totally okay with, because that's 30, 40 minutes of time where you're just running. Like it's unnecessary. And it's not even like a powerful chest or anything. It's just it's a powerful chest. It matches your level, and that's it. The first one. That opening encounter one, it's not worth it.
So Fox is in your top 3?
No, it's 4 for me as well. That's why I said old rage count, because I knew. Yeah, if it wasn't for old rage, it would be 3rd. So, yep, that's kind of exactly how I felt. As just that Last Wish is just. I think it's gonna be hard to ever beat Last Wish raid wise for me. Scourge of the Past was, if there was like more encounters in it or whatever, I didn't care for the tank encounter in Scourge. That was kind of my only
Okay.
like the next to last encounter where you have three. If you were not downstairs running and you were out upstairs ad clearing, that was not a very fun encounter. So I think that takes us to likes and dislikes. We might have to cut some of the show out because we're going pretty long so far. We're
Yeah.
usually all the way to mailbag. so, so my like is that there's a new raid. There's some new content to play. I like logging on and seeing that I have some of the clan people are back online, and some names I hadn't seen on my friends list were back online. So that's my like this week.
I'll go with mine. I like the craziness of the King's Fall raid perk combos that you can get. There's some really wild combos that you can get. They're not going to be absolutely the most amazing thing, but they are fun. There's a lot of things that are very specifically only here. So I do like that a lot. It gives me something to look forward to. I probably won't craft it, but if I just get it as a drop, I'll be like, ooh, this is gonna be fun.
My like is it looks to be like the Tuesday seasonal loop is probably going to be about 25, maybe 30 minutes of like the story, go do the mission, go talk to people. I really like that. It gives you something quick and easy to look forward to every week. And then my dislike this week is going to be like Chad mentioned the weapons, the crazy perk combos, and those new weapons to go chase red borders. But I'm kind of exhausted by the red border chase now. And I'm at a point where I actually prefer the power level grind than I do the red border weapon chase, which is probably pretty crazy, and that's probably not the a very very small minority there of what the people that is on Reddit or playing this game, but I'm kind of tired of chasing them.
Yeah, I last season definitely burnt me out when it introduced 11 red borders. I was like, bro, that's way too many, and they all need 5. That's nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
That's utter nonsense.
Yep.
I don't like that. And then this season again introduced 11 because of the raid. So it's like, bro, there's there's too many. There's too many to
Yep.
get. Um, my dislike is that Liar's Handshake still isn't working properly. It doesn't proc on enemy melee hits, and that's part of its charm is that it fights back, and you have to do a melee to proc it now, and I don't like that functionality's gone.
My dislike is opening encounters. They're just a real pain in the behind.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, should we save weapons breakdown? Do we want to do half a weapons breakdown?
Nah, we'll just save it for next time around. Give us time to get some more weapons and try them out.
All right. Gambling corner. Quickly. The plan was with our first run of the raid. Who could guess the closest time? Chad guessed 3 hours 10 minutes. Jared guessed 3 hours 11 minutes, and I said 6 hours. And the actual official time was 2 hours and 39 minutes, which means Chad won. So Chad currently has 14,000 glimmer. I have 8,000 glimmer, and Jared has 8,000 glimmer. I think that with it being like a holiday weekend and things, I didn't know how much people would be around, so I didn't get a talk with Mr. Vegas as far as something new to gamble on. One thing I would like to gamble on, and maybe we just do it like everybody throws in 2,000, but which one of us three will be the first to get Touch of Malice?
How about this? If somebody gets Touch the Mouse whenever they get it, they get 2,000 glimmer as a bonus.
The first guy.
Okay. The first guy gets just gets it doesn't come from anybody.
Yep.
It just added on. Sounds good. Sounds good. So we'll do that.
Which we are 0 for 36 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got we have 6 boss clears, 3 each week, and nobody has seen it in our fire team.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes us to the lore section, but we were talking about some season of plunder exotics. So, Chad, whenever you're ready, take us away.
Oh yeah, definitely wanted to keep this one short because we're talking a lot. So we're gonna start off with the seasonal gun, the delicate tomb, and it starts off. They mistake the vessel for its contents. They confuse the pieces with the whole. They see their imprisonment as empowerment. They are hostages of their flesh, unable to see without vision, unable to hear without sound, unable to stake their thirst for fear of drowning. Their ignorance is their saving grace, yet one among them understands in their limited fashion. They pour from one vessel to another, a welcome change, a new form, another method of gifting death. I am made finite, personal, bright and delicate to hide my true form, an intimacy. They think me contained, but I am instead diffused as vapor upon the wind. Once again, I am becoming. Now, I don't know what I is, but this is a season of riddles. Uh, if you've been playing any of the bottled messages grind that's going on, um, next one we're going to talk about is the shell that you get.
Before we move on, I'm not a fan of the bottle things.
It's not even really a riddle. It gives you the answer in
I
the
know,
yellow,
mine
so
too.
it's like but it's whatever. Um, if Misrax and I have one thing in common, Spider rumbled, it's that we keep an eye toward the future. He turned a delicate ghost shell over in his massive claw, admiring its elixny styling. Even when we lived from one raid to the next, stealing from anyone who crossed us, we always dreamed of more. He stared into the middle distance, briefly lost in reverie, including a place we could call home, outside of that filthy ketch. As it happened, Misrax eventually granted me a whole planetoid of my own. He chuckled ironically to himself. Just not in the way I'd hoped. When I was finally picked up, I was no longer a raider wanted throughout the system. He opened his arms wide, palms up. I became Spider, a simple merchant with a bounty to collect. In hindsight, getting marooned on that forsaken rock was the best thing that had ever happened to me. He shrugged noncommittally. Maybe being stranded in the last city will serve me just as well. And the last lore we're going to get to is from the Sparrow of the season, Buka's Jolly Boat. Marasov, Queen of the Reef, looked expectantly at Petra and waited for an answer. The Queen's emissary averted her eyes. My queen, she said, we recovered a vast trove of supplies stolen from us over a period of many years. We have located treasures long thought lost and do not avoid the question, Mara said, her words edged with steel. Petra gritted her teeth. We did not recover the spider, she said. It is believed he sealed himself in a pod and transported himself in one of the very shipments that was intercepted by Aramis's forces. Mara tented her delicate fingers between her palms. She formed a tiny trichontahedron of matter resembling rose quartz. She spun the minuscule shape, tracking each of its 30 faces, lining each vertex with a tiny fractal arm that spun off into a curled fern of endless geometric detail. By doing this, she quelled the sudden urge to cleave the dreaming city in two, a reaction which would have discomforted Petra. Petra allowed herself a measured chuckle, knowing it would draw Mara's furious eyes to her, and it did. Time for the ridiculous denouement. We have received word that the spider now resides in the last city, Petra said, daring a shrug. The tiny crystalline structure abruptly fell to sand between Mara's hands. She cocked her head to the side, unable to hold back her incredulous smile. She shook a finger at Petra. When I want him... Petra brought a fist to her chest and nodded. You need only give the word, my queen. Mara shook her head, boggling at the spider's improbable path. Will Crow... She began, but couldn't find the right words to contain the breath of justice she imagined. Petra grinned. I guess we'll find out. So it looks like they found out where Spider is finally. And Mara is excited that she knows, but also is curious as to what Crow's going to do about it. So we'll see. I mean, he doesn't want to be like Aldrin. So he might not exact bloody revenge, but
Hmm.
we'll see what he does.
That's interesting. Because I feel like if somebody's gonna do something about it, it's his sister. It's Mara. But
Yeah, I think you're right with that as well. So, I think that brings us to the mailbag, the last segment. Uh, so I saw something on Twitter from the Destiny Nostalgia Twitter account. They had replied to a tweet from Skill Up, at Skill Up YT for YouTube. And this is kind of in regards. Did you guys see the news with 343 and Halo and how stuff got pushed back and
Yeah.
some stuff? Okay, so this says Destiny 2 will have delivered 2 major expansions and 4 seasons worth of content in the same amount of time it's taken Halo Infinite to get Forge and to cancel couch co-op. Pretty crazy. Uh, I know that we give Bungie, I do, you guys not so much, but I give them a lot of hard time. But kind of seeing that written out, kind of makes me a little more thankful. I appreciate the work that they do put in, and honestly, if they gave us 20% more, then I would want 10% more on top of that. So, I do feel a little bad, as hard as I am on it sometimes, after seeing that, because it has to be hard to, you know, think about them. And Halo was what, their second or third baby, really, but their commercial mainstream baby, and that game is just getting absolutely pummeled. Um, you know, and then Destiny Nostalgia replied, for as up and down as Destiny has been, this is exactly why Sony paid a premium for Bungie's expertise in
Yep.
live service development. There are simply very few as good as Bungie is in this regard. So, sums it up really well. That even though, out of all the companies that have tried it, they've had a game that's creeping up on 10 years, that's going to flourish. And the PC Gamer interview that they had with it, they talked about the next 10 years of Destiny after this 10 years. So it's not stopping anytime soon. So, do you guys have anything you want to say about that, or anything you want to add?
I'm interested about the next 10 years of Destiny. It kind of concerns me a bit because I think our Guardian needs to die at some point. So I'm not sure how they're going to do it, how they're going to end it, because they still probably want it to be a live service game. So how can your character die but still be a live service game in the end? So I don't know. I don't know what's going to do. I mean, I'm interested to find out, and I'm eager to see it.
I mean, we're just gonna have to create Cloud Striders as our characters later on, as a prequel, like, current game, so
Man,
that
what
we
if
have
that
like a
is why
character
they
that's a
did
Cloud
it?
Strider, while they're also technically during the timeline we have our own Guardian going and doing his stuff.
Oh
But
man,
We lose the light and we
like,
have to become a Cloud Strider.
well, no. Like, what I'm saying is,
not
like, as
even
a
that.
separate thing. Like, we have a character that's also a Cloud Strider during the time that
Oh,
Destiny's going on.
the fourth character. The
Ooh.
fourth character.
Kind of one of those deals. Kind of one of those deals where, like, Destiny 1 ends, or this Destiny saga ends, Destiny Beyond or whatever. You create a Cloud Strider, and you're playing in the same time that all this other stuff was going on, and maybe, like, you hear about tales of a Guardian that's doing all this crazy stuff or something while
Yeah.
you're fighting your own battles.
Yeah.
And that's
Because the
why
thing
they
is,
introduced this
when you're in the
in
hidden
order
village,
to.
you'll have knowledge of the outside, but they won't have knowledge of you. So we'll know that when Oryx goes through, when the darkness happens, all that stuff.
Ah.
Right,
Yeah.
like a wink
But
wink
because
type thing.
But I think, as far as the 343 stuff goes, I had the exact thoughts about Bungie. It's like, look, we get almost weekly bug fixes, whether they're the most important ones or not. Whatever, they're still fixing bugs. And they're doing all that stuff. And like Ryan said, Sony hired them for a reason. Sony
Yeah.
bought them. bottom, and they even wrote it out. One of the main reasons was their live service experience. Um, and we're lucky that we have them that are actually active. Because look at what happened with Anthem. Look at what happened with, like, I mean, Cyberpunk's in a better place, but it's not a live service game. But like all these games that just drop off because the companies are like, well, we got the money we wanted, now we're out. We
Right.
don't have any long term plans. We got what we needed and we're gone. They're like, we can't compete with like other PC games that people have been playing for a long time, like League of Legends and World of Warcraft and all these games that people have been playing for forever. Like, we can't compete with that. And Bungie's like, well, shooters, like let's do it, and let's fix bugs, let's be active, do things, even if we're missing the stuff that the community really wants. We're still there. And I mean, they give us an every Thursday thing, whether it's nonsense or not. They're still engaging with the community every week. Not even on social media. It's like on social media they're engaging, but like this is a Bungie thing that comes on their website for the game every Thursday. And I appreciate that a lot. And I'm definitely excited for the next 10 years of Bungie, and was very sad to see that I can't play couch co-op on Halo Infinite,
Yeah.
because it's like I got a perfect screen to just split right down the middle. We're good. But whatever, you know.
Yeah, I
Man,
wonder.
how have they messed up Halo so bad?
Yeah.
I mean,
I,
they ought to be ashamed of themselves.
so I was wondering. I was like, at what point could Microsoft and Halo be like, all right, they just throw their hands up and they're done with the franchise? And then what would it take for Bungie to buy it back from Microsoft?
The more likely thing is that 343 gets disbanded,
Okay.
and they, because you got to remember they have like all the Activision teams, the Blizzard teams, like
Ah,
all this shopping spree that they've went on.
true.
That I think they disband 343, and whatever the hell they've been doing up there for the last 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I think that the IP gets spread across multiple teams.
Yeah.
So let's say like Id Studios wants to make a Doom-like first-person shooter set in the Halo universe, they can do it, and then they kind of do it that way. That would be the more likely way. I don't think that they could. I don't think that they would sell the IP,
Yeah.
uh, because they don't need money. Like it would be
True.
different if they were like fledgling. But so if nothing else, they'll just put it in a vault for 10 years and then re-release like a game out of it. Like at this point, Halo needs to be locked up, put the key in like a timer that you can't get out for 10 or 15 years, and then bring it back out. Well, you got to let the stink wash off of it, because that's all that's on it at this point, in my opinion.
2032, the Halo Quintilogy remaster.
Ah,
Yeah.
dude, a battle royale would save it, right? That's all it needs. Just needs a battle royale,
Oh
right?
man.
But I mean, like, if they got rid of 343 and they sprinkled it across the other studios, they could have
Mhm.
a team work on a BR. They could have an ODST like side story to where it has nothing to do with Master Chief. It's just set in New Mombasa, or uh, then you have the Halo Wars. You could have another one of those. You could do uh, just all kinds of stuff you could set in there, and you could almost do like a RPG set in the universe. I mean, I think that would be the best way to do it, because what they've been doing isn't working clearly. Uh, so it's a real shame, man. A real shame. You see that the highs that it was at. I mean, it was a global phenomenon. Like people's moms knew what Halo was. You know what I mean? People that never played video games, and now I was looking at like my Steam, and I think Halo Infinite I had like 10.6 hours in or something, and that was all in like 2 or 3 nights where all of us were on playing it. That's
Mhm.
pitiful.
Yep.
All right. Anybody else have anything else they want to touch on, or we good?
Nope.
All right. Sorry for the lack of camera tonight for people on the YouTube. I had a COVID test. I look terrible. I feel terrible. So I'm going to let these other two guys sign off. But please remember to follow us on Twitter at DestinyCCPod and find us on YouTube if you listen to us podcast form.
Yeah, not a whole lot going in. Like, if you're just going to play Destiny, like maybe one night or 2 nights a week, you just raid one night, do some story one night. That's kind of all you need to do because a lot of stuff to look forward to is Grandmasters. They're 6 weeks away. Raid challenges, they're like 3 or 4 weeks away. So like a lot of the cooler stuff to do in the game, you got a few weeks.
Yeah, definitely. There's the good news is there's not a lot of lore wise going on, which is bad news for me, but good news for a lot of other people. Which means that, like Jared said, the start of your weekly loop is 30 minutes, start to finish. You're in, you're out, and you can do the pinnacles that you want to do, or catch up on powerfuls, and then call it a week and be good and chilling, just doing what you want to do, instead. So don't burn yourself out early on this one. This is one where you can actually, take your time and cruise through this season. It's a good season to cruise. So relax and just take this season pretty casual and, have a good time.